My name is Drance. I have lived in this province for almost 60 years, and for most of that time I was associated with the Department of Ophthalmology of the University of British Columbia and the Vancouver General Hospital. In fact, I was responsible for raising the funds to build the eye care center, and I'm delighted that as a result of this so many of you have had excellent care there. 6 months ago, David Suzuki spoke to a full house of the UBC alumni at the Chan Center. He started off by saying, "I'm speaking to you today as a grandfather," which immediately caught my attention. He also told us that scientists have warned all of us, including our governments, but apart from muzzling their scientists, there has been very little practical action coming from them. The prestigious United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has released its report in 2014. The scientific consensus is quite clear and overwhelming. Climate change is now set to have a severe, widespread impact on people and nature. It is already expressed in diminished ice caps, rising sea levels, acidifying oceans, heat waves and other extreme weather. Ahead of us lies severe food shortages and violent conflict. John MacDonald, the founder of MacDonald and Detweiler, who incidentally built Canada's space arm for the NATO shuttles, said the same thing to an audience recently, where he said, "Do not ask me what we can do for the planet. The planet is not in any danger and needs no help. It will continue to spin. We should all be thinking instead, what can we do to preserve the survival of the animal kingdom, which of course includes us, on this planet." Many of the slides that I have been using in this talk were lent to me by John MacDonald. At the present rate of progression in climate change and human growth, our children and certainly our grandchildren will have difficulty on the planet. They may not even survive. The Intergovernmental Climate Change Panel is, however, optimistic that at this time the trend can still be reversed. I want to show you on this slide what has happened to the carbon dioxide for the last 800,000 years. You will undoubtedly know that there are ups and downs which are expected, but I want you to note that the humans have been on the planet 120,000 years, and you note on the right side of the slide that there is a huge upward swing which has never been seen before. So that some of this is certainly attributable to the humans and certainly out of keeping with anything that anybody has witnessed in the last million years. This next slide shows the greenhouse effect, which shows the fact that we are now having in the atmosphere enough carbon dioxide and other things that hold the heat in on the planet and produce heating of our planet. Slide shows the CO2 readings over the last 750 years, and you can see that there was a rise of the CO2, but it has become quite dramatic, and this upgrading of the on the right is called the Keeling curve, and it shows in fact of what's happened in the last 250 years, and it has changed. I'm now showing you that the average monthly Arctic sea ice extent has is going down continually and has done so for the last 200, nearly 200 years. Having just said this about the ice cap and the ice disappearing, let me just draw to your attention that our temperature on Earth has so far risen only 0.83 of a degree centigrade. Yet the glaciers are melting, the ice mass is diminishing, and so there is no question that even such a small temperature rise produces significant effects. The American-Chinese agreement has set itself a target of less than 2 degrees of change by the end of the century. Many experts predict the temperature to be greater than 4 degrees by the end of the century, and there is no evidence at all that the human can adapt to such a quick change, so we might be gone. It shows very clearly the global mean sea level which has increased as a result of the melting of the ice, and as you can see, it is a continuously rise. This is a very graphic picture from Alaska which shows the disappearance of the glaciers, and you can see what happened to Muir Glacier between 1941 and 2004, a mere half century. It's a gorgeous picture on the right without any ice in it at all, whereas in 1941 there was a very dense glacier. Let me also just, in this gloomy picture, present once again the idea from the IPCC, which is quite optimistic that at this time this trend is still reversible. I have presented to you the facts of our inching to the sad time when we have fouled up the conditions on our beautiful planet, which will probably endanger the survival of the animal kingdom on our planet. I believe that this is the greatest disaster facing us, and in spite of these facts, ahead of us we are not anywhere near the action necessary to reverse the mess we are creating on our beautiful planet. Incidentally, the beautiful planet shows itself as a blue dot when seen from space. Having told you these sad facts, I would now like to suggest to you that you should join me and my colleagues who want to make sure that in this next election you use your vote in a way in which it might change the situation that we have encountered. And we would therefore like all candidates and certainly all parties to have a proposition as to what they would do if they were in power now, not in the future. The time is now, the time is not on our side. We need every year of improvement in the situation, and only you as a voter and I can produce an effect on the politicians that is meaningful and effective. Our grandchildren therefore face very uncertain futures. So do yours. Many of their lives may be short if the climate continues to deteriorate. Our politicians have not acted so far in a meaningful manner. We need to tell our politicians that we want immediate, effective action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We need to tell them that otherwise some of us may not give them our votes.